My name is Eleanor Hargrove, and I am 83 years old as I sit here trying to bleed this story onto paper before my heart gives out entirely. The doctor says it's enlarged broken heart syndrome, he called it with a sad little smile, as if a medical term could ever hold what I carry. I have asked them not to read this until after I'm gone. Some truths are kinder when the teller is already in the ground. I will start with the day the first crack appeared, because that is how a life shatters. Not with one blow, but with the first hairline fracture that widens. Slowly, patiently, until everything falls through. It was 1972. I was 41. Raymond had been coming home later and later from the mill. I noticed the way his shirt smelled of a perfume that was not mine. Something young and reckless, like green apples and sin. I told myself it was nothing. Men stray in their minds long before they stray in their bodies. I kept ironing those shirts, kept folding them with the same care I had used since our wedding day. Because if the creases were perfect, maybe the marriage would stay perfect too. Then came the Tuesday I will never unsee. I had driven to the cemetery with daffodils for my mother. On the way back I passed the Starlight Motel. Cheap neon, hourly rates, and there was Raymond's blue Buick. My foot left the gas pedal as if it had a mind of its own. I parked 2 spaces away and waited. 47 minutes. I counted every one. When the door to room 12 opened, my husband walked out adjusting his tie, and behind him came Marlene. Red hair, red dress, red mouth, laughing at something he whispered. She was 31. I knew because I looked her up later in the phone book like a madwoman. 31 to my 41. 10 years. 10 years I had given him that she never had to earn. He kissed her against the car. Not a goodbye peck. A lover's kiss. Slow. Hungry. The kind he had not given me since Daniel was small. I watched until they drove away in separate cars. And then I sat in the parking lot until the sun went down and the neon buzzed on. I did not cry. I could not. Something inside me had turned to ice so it would not bleed. I never told him I knew. I smiled over meatloaf that night. I let him make love to me 2 days later and pretended his mind was not still tasting her skin. I swallowed every sharp thing and called it love. That was the first death. The death of the woman I thought I was. Raymond died 12 years later in that same motel. Same woman. Different room. Heart attack. They said. I identified the body alone because Marlene had vanished the moment the ambulance lights came. I stood in the morgue and looked at his face. Still handsome even in death. And felt nothing but a vast, exhausted relief. The secret died with him. I thought. I buried it in the casket alongside the wedding ring he had stopped wearing months before he stopped breathing. Daniel was 24 when his father died. My beautiful boy with my eyes and Raymond's smile. I poured what was left of me into him. Every night I prayed the same prayer. Let him be better than his father. Let him be the man who stays. He married Claire when he was 31. She was sunlight in human form. Golden hair. Quick laugh. The kind of woman who made you believe the world was kind. I loved her the way drowning people love air. When she called me mom the first time, I cried in the bathroom so she would not see. The twins came 2 years later. Lily and Rose. I was 70 when I held them. And I swear my heart started beating again just to keep time with their tiny pulses. Thursdays became sacred. I would drive to their big new house with cookies and my knitting. And for a few hours the ice inside me thawed. That is why the second crack hurt worse than the first, because I had dared to believe the curse had skipped a generation. It was October 6th, 2016. I remember the exact date because it was the day I baked snickerdoodles with extra cinnamon. The way Daniel loved them when he was 10. Claire had texted, "Running errands. Back by 2. Love you, Mom." I let myself in with the key they had given me for emergencies. The house was too quiet. The twins were at a playdate. I learned that later. I heard the sounds before I understood them. A woman's laugh, low and intimate, the creak of bed springs. My legs carried me down the hallway, although every cell in my body begged to turn back. The guest room door was half open. I saw my son, my Daniel, naked with a girl young enough to be his daughter. Her dark hair spilled across the quilt I had sewn for their wedding. The one with our family initials stitched in the corner. He was touching her the way he once touched Claire on their honeymoon pictures. Tender, possessive, in love. I made a noise. I do not know what it was. Something between a sob and the death rattle of hope. Daniel turned. The blood drained from his face when he saw me standing there with the Tupperware still in my hands. Mom, the girl, Sarah, I learned later, scrambled for her clothes, muttering apologies that meant nothing. She ran past me barefoot, clutching her blouse to her chest like a shield. Daniel pulled on his jeans. Mom, please. It's not what, quote, it is exactly what it looks like, I said. My voice sounded like someone else's. Old, ancient, carved from stone. He tried to explain. 8 months. Stress at work. Claire didn't understand him anymore. It didn't mean anything. He loved his family. He loved me. Every word was a knife turning in the same wound his father had opened 44 years earlier. I asked only one question. Does Claire know? Quote, he could not look at me when he shook his head. I left the cookies on the floor. They scattered like broken teeth. I drove home through rain that felt like punishment. That night I sat in Raymond's old chair and understood, for the first time, why some animals chew off their own legs to escape a trap. I wanted to chew off the part of me that had birthed this legacy of betrayal. For 6 weeks I kept the secret. I smiled at Sunday dinners while Daniel avoided my eyes and Claire chattered too brightly about preschool applications. I watched my grandchildren eat mashed potatoes with their fingers and wondered what kind of world I had brought them into. I asked only one question. Does Claire know? Quote, he could not look at me when he shook his head. I left the cookies on the floor. They scattered like broken teeth. I drove home through rain that felt like punishment. That night I sat in Raymond's old chair and understood, for the first time, why some animals chew off their own legs to escape a trap. I wanted to chew off the part of me that had birthed this legacy of betrayal. For 6 weeks I kept the secret. I smiled at Sunday dinners while Daniel avoided my eyes and Claire chattered too brightly about preschool applications. I watched my grandchildren eat mashed potatoes with their fingers and wondered what kind of world I had brought them into. Every night I sat in the dark and spoke to Raymond's ghost. You did this. You taught him that love is something you can set down when it gets heavy. You taught him that women like me will stay no matter what. You taught him silence is permission. I hated him, and I hated myself more, because I had been the example. Claire told me in November. She came to me crying, saying Daniel was leaving her for someone else. She collapsed in my arms, soaking my blouse with tears, calling me mom over and over like a prayer. I held her and felt the past and present fuse into one unbearable weight. My daughter-in-law was living my life 39 years later. And my own son was the villain this time. That night Daniel came looking for her. I made him sit in the living room under the Christmas tree lights that blink like accusations. I told them everything. About the motel. About Marlene. About the meatloaf and the lies and the way I had smiled while something inside me died every day. For 23 years. On my 82nd birthday, Daniel came without warning. He looked like a man who had been sleeping in his car. He knelt in the driveway in front of Claire and the girls and me. He told us everything. Every detail. Every lie. Every time he had chosen Sarah over his family. He did not ask for forgiveness. He asked only for the chance to become someone who might one day deserve it. Claire looked at me. I was so tired. So terribly tired. I nodded. She handed him the unsigned divorce papers and said, "We'll see." That was all any of us could manage. On the night before I died, I asked them to gather in the living room one last time. The twins, 16 now, sat on the floor. Claire and Daniel sat on the couch. Not touching, but close enough that hope lived in the space between them. I was so small under the blankets. My voice was a whisper. But they leaned in to hear. "I need you to understand something," I said. "I spent most of my life being the woman who stayed. The woman who smiled. The woman who kept the family together no matter the cost, and the cost was my soul." I looked at Daniel. "I failed you most of all. I taught you, without ever saying it, that love is something you endure. That betrayal is survivable if you just keep quiet. I am so sorry." He was crying. "Mom, no. Quote, let me finish. I have little time." I turned to Claire. "You gave me the gift of a daughter when my own blood failed me. Thank you for letting me love you even after everything." Then to the twins, "Never, ever stay silent to keep the peace. Peace bought with your heart is no peace at all." I died at dawn, with Claire holding my left hand and Daniel my right. The twins slept curled at my feet like puppies. I felt the ice finally, mercifully, melt. If you are reading this, I am gone. Know that I learned too late that love is not a debt to be paid in silence. It is oxygen. When someone takes it from you, you leave, or you demand it back. There is no third choice that does not kill you slowly. I spent my life choosing the slow death so others could live quickly. Do not do the same. Set your table only for those who stay when the truth is ugly. And if no one stays, eat alone with the lights on. It is better than smiling in the dark beside a lie. I forgive you all. Now forgive me. Eleanor.